Hi, how are you? This is Anthony from Cypher House Escape. Today I'm back with another puzzle hunt style video. We're going to look at a puzzle from this year's Galactic Puzzle Hunt. If you haven't heard of Galactic Puzzle Hunt before, they're a puzzle hunt that takes place in March each year. The hunt is designed for teams of 10 and is usually pretty difficult in terms of typical puzzle hunts. It's very long. There's usually quite a few puzzles that teams need to solve each year. And in my opinion, it rivals the MIT Mystery Hunt in terms of difficulty. So the Galactic Puzzle Hunt is really top tier in my opinion in terms of difficulty, as well as things like originality of puzzles and just memorable moments within hunts. So I strongly recommend checking them out. This year's hunt is over, so you can always check out hints and solutions if you're looking at a puzzle that you're stuck on. But especially the beginning puzzles of each hunt are usually pretty accessible to new players, so I recommend checking these out even if you don't have a lot of experience with puzzle hunt puzzles, because they're a pretty good place to improve your skills and get better at this style of puzzle. Today I want to look at this puzzle called Race for the Galaxy, and before we start the puzzle today, I want to make it known that I've solved this puzzle before. I was part of a team for the Galactic Puzzle Hunt this year, and we solved a lot of the puzzles in the hunt, so I'm familiar already with what I'm going to be expected to do for this puzzle. However, as you'll soon see, that doesn't really matter for this puzzle in particular. The style of the puzzle that we're about to do is actually a randomly generated set of puzzles that refreshes every 3 minutes. So every 3 minutes, there's a completely different set of 10 puzzles, plus a meta puzzle that will use all those answers at the very end. So even though I've done this race puzzle before, the specific puzzles that we're going to be looking at are puzzles that I have not yet seen. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail about the various legs of the race, the various puzzles that we're going to see until we actually get into it, but there are just a couple quick notes I want to make because it goes a little fast. So first things first, I want to mention the tools that I'm going to be using during this race. The first one is not going to be visible on the computer screen because I'm using an app on my phone. The app that I'm using is called Puzzle Pal, and it's a pretty good puzzle hunt app to decipher things like codes and also do some general anagramming and other useful functions. So I'll leave a link to that as well as all of the tools that I'm going to be using today down in the description for you to check out later. But other tools I'm going to be using that you'll see are this anagram solver. I'm going to be using a site called Quip, which is really good for solving cryptogram puzzles. I'm going to be using Google Images because we're going to need to reverse image search a few things during this hunt today. I'm going to be using this site called Nutramatic for a very specific puzzle that we'll see later on during the race. It's a little hard to explain all of the functions that Nutramatic can do, but it's really good for the specific puzzle that we're going to use it for a little bit later. Here I have the Puzzled Pint code sheet, which shows all of the different codes. It's not quite as fast as my puzzle app that I mentioned I'm going to be using, but my puzzle app doesn't do the binary column, so I'm specifically going to be using the code sheet just to look up some quick binary references during this race. And then finally, I'm using OneLook, which is essentially a dictionary lookup, but you can enter things like question marks for various letters, and then put in a few letters that you know, and it'll give you words that match that particular pattern. So that'll be very helpful to us, especially in later rounds when we're trying to solve. The way that the race is structured is that each time I solve a puzzle, 3 minutes will be added onto my clock, which means for the 10 puzzles plus the meta, I essentially have 33 minutes to solve the entire set. However, if I fail to make one of those checkpoints, then I can't move any further, and I essentially have to start over and try again. Okay, we have 9 seconds until the next race starts. We'll just refresh the page a couple times to make sure we get the new race. And there we go. Let's get started. So we have triple dots right away, which is an S in Morse code. We have the Braille letter O, followed by the semaphore letter R. Then we have Morse code again. This is R again. And finally, one semaphore letter, that's the letter Y. So we're starting off strong with a nice short word, sorry. On to puzzle 2. This time we have anagram words, so I'm going to just throw them into this anagram solver. And we want to take the first letter of each word. So we get a W, H. And again, we see the game was pretty nice to us by giving us a relatively short word here. E-N. That one's probably an E. V. Is it whenever? It is. So I'm saving our words in this Excel sheet for our meta puzzle at the end. This time we have a drop quote puzzle, and in a drop quote puzzle you have to take letters and put them down into their column to spell out a phrase. This is usually some kind of congratulatory statement followed by the answer. So let's see what we can find here. Okay, so this is the word type, T-Y-P-E. So it's telling us to type in, I-N, something. This is going to be our answer here. To. Then we have the word go. To. T-H-E, the next. And then a space, and then we have the word puzzle, P-U-Z-Z-L-E. And so our answer is burlap. So let's try burlap. And we move on. Excellent. This time we have a cryptogram. And Quip Quip is a really good cryptogram solver. We see really quickly it got us answer invincible. So this round is kind of a freebie, as long as you have a decent cryptogram solver like Quip Quip. You can move on really fast. Now we're going to be doing a word search puzzle. It's kind of the standard word search puzzle where the leftover letters spell out the answer. We just have to find all of the words. So effortlessly is right here. And this is the kind of puzzle that's going to get a little bit easier because they kind of minimally overlap the answers, which is nice. Knackwurst. Don't even know what that word means. Meddlesome. Here's subside. Violoncello. Typewriter. Truncate. Peacefully. Hold out. Fleshy. Outfield. Plaintiff. Here we have Roger and Shroud. And we see the leftover letters spell enter, disentangle to proceed. So disentangle is the answer. Excellent. And I'm going to write that down before I forget. Okay, puzzle 6. This time we have a bunch of celebrities. And we're going to need to identify who they are, and then the number that's in the picture with them tells us which letter to index into their name to get. So this first one did not immediately come up. So I'm just going to... I usually skip it when they don't come up because I don't trust myself with actors and actresses. So we're going to skip the first letter. This is Zachary Quinto. We want the 8th letter. So that's a Q. Interesting. This is a relatively short word. And we have a Q towards the beginning of it. So this is Channing Tatum. We want the 12th letter, which is a U. I mean, that makes sense. So we have something followed by QU. And then the 5th letter of Daniel is an E. And so this is Anne Hathaway. We want the 9th letter, which is an A. And lastly, Keira Knightley. We want the 6th letter, which is a K. So this is probably the word squeak. Indeed it is. Okay, this time it's a spot the difference puzzle. So we're going to compare these two grids of symbols. And anything could be different. Could be the symbol that's in the box. So here it's like a plus and here it's an O. It could also be one of the colors could be off. Once we've identified that this one's wrong, we take the corresponding letter in this grid, which is a B. And so we're going to keep doing that. We get an R, I, D, G, E. So we have the word bridge, but we're only about halfway through the grid, so that's probably not the full word. Here we have W, O, R, K. So we have the word bridge work. Is that the final answer? Or there's some more differences for like bridge working or something. I'm not seeing any others, so let's just try bridge work. That was correct. Save that answer onto puzzle 8. Okay, this time we have this 6x6 grid. Every cell has 3 letters in it. And the way that this puzzle works is there's a word reading down every column and across every row. So that gets rid of 2 letters in each cell, and the remaining letters will spell out some congratulatory statement like in the drop quote or in the crossword puzzle or in the word search puzzle there. So I found it's actually easier usually to just pick out the congratulatory statement first. So let's see if I can do that. This spells amazing work. And then it's telling us enter something. So the answer is going to start here. But there could be more to the statement at the end. Yeah, so there's the word T-O-P-R-O to proceed. So we know the answer is hidden in these cells. So this is where Nutramatic comes in handy. We can basically enter these in between square brackets. LSU, they need to be lowercase letters. LSU, LTY. I'm just going to go cell by cell and enter these in, and it should give us some probabilistic answers that could be spelled with these trios. IRS, EFL. IRS, EFL. ANR. Utilitarian. That's a pretty good answer. Let's give it a go. That's correct. Good. So we're on to puzzle 9. Let me shrink that down a little bit. On to puzzle 9. How much time's on the clock? We still have 14 minutes, which hopefully is plenty of time. This time, what we're dealing with is a logic puzzle. All of these answers for each question are going to be either correct or incorrect, which I'll denote with a 1 and 0 respectively. And that's going to give us a binary letter that we can look up on our Puzzled Pint code sheet here. Now, I don't want to solve all of these, so this is where one look comes in handy. I'm right now telling it to search for 10-letter words, and as I find letters, I'm going to fill them in there. So some of these are give you a place to start, like pigs can fly is definitely incorrect, so I'm going to put a 0 next to it. And it shows up twice here, so those are both zeros. What else can we get from that? So answer D is correct. Well, we already put a 0 for that one, so answer D is Incorrect, which means B is also incorrect. Neither answer B nor D is correct. That's true. Either B or C is correct. That's also true. So we have the number 00101, and looking that up on the Puzzled Pint code sheet, we see that that's the letter E. So this is the 8th question, which means the 8th letter of this word is E. I'm going to go ahead and fill that into one look here, but there's probably multiple words that could be. So let's move on to a different one of these to try to figure out. Here's another simple starting one with pigs can fly. That means this one's also wrong. C and D are correct. That one's wrong. Answers B and C are not both correct. That's true. Answers B and C are not both correct. That one's also true. So 10100. That's a T. So we have the 5th letter is a T. I'm going to sort these by commonness. So let's keep going, starting with number 1 here. Sometimes you just have to take a guess and see if it's true. Answers A and E are correct. Exactly one of answers A and B is correct. Okay. Neither answer A nor E is correct. Good. Answers C and D are not both correct. That has to be a 1, and that means that this is a 0. Okay, so we have 10011. That's an S. So our word will start with an S. Let's put that into one look and keep going here. Answer C is correct, means answer A is incorrect. Either A or E is correct. So, nope, that's bad. Bad starting assumption. So answer C is incorrect. Answer C is correct is wrong, so that means answer C is wrong. Answer A is incorrect. So we got a 1 there. Either A or E is correct. Yes. Okay. Answer C is correct. No. Exactly one of C and E is correct. No. So we have 10000 for our second letter. That's a P. So we start with the letters SP. Sportswear. So we've narrowed down the possible words to just a very few of them. And so I'm going to try sportswear. And it was correct. So we got a little lucky there that we didn't have to solve too many of the logic puzzles. And we're right on to puzzle number 10 with 13 minutes still on our clock. That's exciting. Remember, every time we've solved a puzzle, it added 3 minutes onto the clock. All right. Puzzle 10 is probably the trickiest puzzle. Mainly because I haven't seen a really useful tool online to solve it, but I was able to make one in Excel. Basically, it's another word search puzzle. We have to find these words in this grid. However, the grid has been sent through a cryptogram first. Every letter actually represents a different letter. So the best way to break into this is to find the longest word that we're given, which here is metric system. Metric system is 12 letters long, and we have a 12 by 12 grid. So we should be able to figure out, just by this repeated M, for example, as well as the repeated S, where this goes in the grid pretty quickly. So we want, if it's in a row, we want the first and last letter of that row to match. And there's a couple places where that happens, but let's try to... We also want the third rows to match because of this T here. So let's see if we find that in any of these rows, where these are both the same. Here they're the same, and this WW is probably the SS in system. So I'm guessing we have metric system here, and the way that this tool works is we now know that L represents an M, so I'm going to put an M next to the L here, and you'll see that everywhere there's an M inside of the grid on the right, everywhere that there was an L inside of the grid on the left, the tool puts an M in the grid on the right. So I'm going to spell metric system across here by replacing all of the letters that we have. So T, R, I, C. S Y. Okay, so there we have metric system completely found. And now hopefully we can use those letters in this grid to help us find other words. What's another long word? Historically. So we should have an IST pretty close to each other somewhere, with the undefined H and O before and after it. So let's see if I can find an IST in this grid here. There might be a few of those. Here's one. Historically would fit beautifully here. Historic ALLY. That's also 12 letters. So they were pretty nice to us and gave us two 12-letter words to really help us break into this cryptic word search puzzle. Now we see that already with just those two words, most of this grid is already filled in. Here's caricature. Maybe vaccine because of the double C. Yeah, vaccine has to go here. And for the most part, I'm only still highlighting the grid on the left to help me keep my place and find these missing letters. But I'm probably going to stop doing that once most of the letters are filled in here. If I can find the P, like all these words start with a P, so they should be easy enough. This is probably penny right here. And so can I find, here's primness. There aren't any new letters in that one. Can I find please? Please is right down there. Yeah, phony would be a good one to find. Oh, here's also canon, which gets me the O. It tells me the O is the letter T there. Okay, so now we're in a better position to find doubloon with the double O here. Yeah, that's doubloon right there. Again, these are kind of minimally overlapping, so it's usually easy to look in the white space to try to find the words we haven't found yet. How much time is still on the clock? Almost 7 minutes. We should be fine. So what about phony? Here's phony. Oh, here's blazer. Do I have W yet? No. But I have E, so I should see A0E somewhere here. So that's the word away. So Z is the W. Jeweled. Oh, here's suffix. Lastly, we need to find jeweled. Here it is. Jeweled. So that tells us that J is really the E. Okay. So we filled in most of the letters. This spells, wow, you solved it. Enter misanthropic. Misanthropic. And we see we still have 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, and just in time for the meta puzzle. So solving that added 3 more minutes. We have 6.5, which should, in theory, be plenty. I'm going to type all our words over here so they all have the same formatting. Okay, so these are all of our answers, and we need to figure out how to combine them in some way to get the final answer. So some people might look at the first letter of every word. That doesn't really work here. Some might look at the last letter of every word. Again, that doesn't look like it works. And so one thing to remember is that these were the solutions to these puzzle numbers. And so we can try indexing into the words by those puzzle numbers. So we get the first letter of sorry is an S, H, R, I, N, K, so shrink, W, R, A, P. So shrink wrap should be the final meta answer. We still have 4 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. And we've done it. Congratulations on completing the race. The answer to the puzzle is stronger. And so in the puzzle hunt competition, we would go up to the check your answer box here, and we would type in the word stronger. And we find that that is correct. We've solved the puzzle. So I want to point out that during the actual puzzle hunt competition, there was nothing telling us how to solve each of those puzzles. Most of the time, our team would get up to one of these puzzles, and we would have to stare at it for a little bit. We would lose the race, and then we would have to figure out exactly what was going on in that specific puzzle in order to find an answer. Then we would be able to find or create a tool that would help us solve that puzzle faster, which would help us get to further puzzles. And by repeating this until we got through all 10 puzzles, we were eventually able to win the race. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video and the puzzle that I showcased today. Again, I'm going to be linking all of the tools that I used in the description below. I also want to give a big shout out to the Galactic Puzzle Hunt team. These guys do some great work. It was a fantastic, almost week long of solving puzzles for our team in particular. I know some of the fastest teams finished in a few days, but we didn't even make it to some of these more complicated meta puzzles. Because this is a really top-notch hunt. So I highly recommend checking them out, even just to see how impressive some of these difficult puzzles can become. So thanks for watching, everybody, and as always, happy escaping.